Hi, my lovies. Okay, so we're going to start with our history, but we're going to start with, not start with anyway, it's just history time. Okay. But there are two map skills sheets that I don't know, remember to do with you. So map skill sheet 28 and map skill sheet 29. But map skill sheet 28, I do want you to look at both of them because they're good to know. They are the landforms, whether it's, specific landforms like your desert, lake, island, peninsula, volcano, waterfall, all of those. That one specifically is going to be on your test on Friday. So I do want you to go over this landform, but also go to the back of your book and remember all of those landforms. This one is just describing them. It's giving their terms and their, definitions. So you're labeling the desert, the island, the lake, the oasis, peninsula, volcano, waterfall. You're labeling those A through G, okay? And you don't have to send this to me. I'll go through it probably tomorrow so that you'll have that down. Then you're matching the geographic terms with their definitions for hill, mountain, plain, river, valley, volcano, and describing what they are. So again, at the back of your book, you'll see some of those descriptions and see what those landforms are. This specific, and I don't know, it's not necessarily just going to be these. So study all of them. Like I said, we on that map, that kind of a map, we learned hills, we learned mountains, we learned gorge, what a gorge is. We learned swamps. We learned, all of that kind of, or marshland, we learned all of those parts of what we see in that picture there, plains. Okay. So study all of that, not just this page, but that will be on your test. And then study your map of the United States, because they're just going to pull out certain states and just say, name this one, name this one, name this one, name this one, name this one. So be prepared for that on Friday. So map skill sheet 29, it's just the different geographical things throughout the United States that are important kind of to know where. So if you don't get to that, I'm not worried about it, but it is kind of an interesting and important thing to just to have an idea where these things are within our United States or around our United States. But looking at those carefully. And then I'm not sure when map skill sheet 30 is supposed to come in, but I would be looking at that because especially before the test on Friday, just so you have that awareness. And then I just noticed at the back that there are some fun things which I didn't realize were even there. So you can look back on some of those and have some fun with some history review. But we are going to go over the comprehension check right now from page 442 and see how you did. And I'm sure you did awesome, right? You better have. Did you do it? You better have done it. Don't listen to the answers, because how is that going to really help you in the long run? Okay. All right. So number 1, Ronald Reagan saved the lives of 77 people when he was a doctor? No. Firefighter? No. Lifeguard, right? He was a lifeguard. Letter C. Very good. Number 2, Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. I hope you got that. Number 3, because remember, where did he buy his parents' home? A home. He brought them a home in California. So that use those things to help you remember. A form of government that takes away the freedoms of its people is communism. Very good. And that's something that President Reagan felt very strongly against, communism, which is why he told Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall right now. Like, he wanted that Berlin Wall torn down so that East Berlin could be free and not be communistic, just as West Berlin was free. So he wanted them to have that freedom. Number 4, what did President Reagan tell Mr. Reagan tell Mr. Gorbachev to tear down? Right. A wall. Letter C, a wall. It wasn't a building. It wasn't a tower. It was a huge wall that separated the city of Berlin from east and west. And the east had communism and didn't have control of their own things, while the west was free. Okay. Number 5, how did Ronald Reagan help his country during World War II? Okay, he was in the army, but what did he do? Right, remember he made training videos. He made training videos for the military. That was what he did. That's how he helped his country. Because of President Reagan's effective speaking ability, what was he called? He was known as what? Did you get it? Yes, the great communicator. So because he was so good at speaking, he became known as the great communicator. Who was the first female Supreme Court justice who Ronald Reagan appointed to office? Sandra Day O'Connor. Very good. Good. Did you get those? Excellent. Elbow bump, elbow bump. Very proud of you. So review back over Ronald Reagan, and then obviously go back and review who was before Ronald Reagan? Why can't I remember? John Glenn and Neil Armstrong. I knew there's 2 and I couldn't think. But review over those, review over Ronald Reagan, and now we're on to Daniel Chappie James. He was born in 1920 and died in 1978. And you can look and see the timeline where he falls into place. And now we're going to find out about the 11th commandment. Interesting. Today, I'm going to teach you the 11th commandment, little James told her class one day. Lily James told her class one day. Sorry, Lily James. Shoo. But Miss Lily, my mama told me God gave 10 commandments, one of her students replied. That's true, Miss Lily said, but I have one more every one of you should live by. Commandment 11, thou shalt not quit. What? Thank you, Lord. What a good one for right now. That's my 11th commandment too. I'm using that one, okay? Thou shalt not quit. You are doing it well, and we're almost there. We're almost to the finish line. Do we quit before we end? No way. We keep going and plugging away and plodding to the very, very end. So her 11th commandment was thou shalt not quit. Daniel James heard his mother teach this lesson. Sorry, I gotta turn the page. Year after year, as she taught in her one-room schoolhouse in their backyard. So his mom taught in their backyard in a one-room schoolhouse. Daniel always lived by this rule and was determined not to quit. That's what I want you to get in your hearts, 3rd grade. Do not quit. Because when you don't quit, it's amazing to see what things you can do. And you'll be surprised at how far you can go when you don't quit. Don't quit. Do not quit. 11th commandment, don't quit. Chappie, where does that come from? We have all these people with these different nicknames. Where are they coming from? Daniel James Jr. was born in Pensacola, Florida. He was the 17th child. 17th. So there were 16 others before him of Daniel and Lily James. And she was a teacher. She probably had most of her own kids, maybe a few other neighbor kids, but it's probably most of her own. He went by the name Chappie throughout his life because Chappie's mother believed that a good education was very important in life. She decided to teach her children at home. Once other people realized Mrs. James was teaching her own children, they asked her to teach their children too. Told ya. She charged 25 cents a week. 25 cents. If the parents were too poor to pay, Mrs. James found a way to help them. Because there was a naval air station in Pensacola, Chappie often saw planes fly overhead. Chappie dreamed of one day becoming a pilot. When he became a teenager, he made excellent grades in high school and hoped to go to college. When his father died, Chappie was afraid his dream of college was over. However, his sister promised to help him. Chappie was accepted at, do you see what it says? Tuskegee Institute, where, yes, Booker T. Washington, and that's where George Washington Carver taught, in Tuskegee, Alabama, where he studied physical education, PE, and played on the football team. All right, so look down at the bottom of the page. Let's find out important names and important places. Tuskegee Airmen. It was a group of African-American military pilots. So, you know, they were military pilots that helped out in a great way. And he was a part of that. Well, we'll find out if he was or not, which kind of already gives it away. But anyway, General Daniel Chappie James, the first African American to become a 4-star general. So we'll find out about that as well. And then important places, Pentagon. It's the 5-sided building, because the Pentagon is 5 sides. And you can look at the shape and see it. 5-sided building in Arlington, Virginia, containing the offices of the U.S. Department of Defense. Okay. Tuskegee Pilot Training Program. Chappie James became a member of the Tuskegee Pilot Training Program. His flight instructor told him, "You were born to fly." It kind of reminds me of who was said something about being born to do something. Who else? Do you remember? Clara Barton was a born nurse. Remember, the doctor said, "You're a born nurse." Well, his flight instructor's going, "You were born to fly. You are one of the best pilots I have ever trained." When Chappie James completed the training program, he was not able to get a place in the military flight school right away. He stayed at Tuskegee as a flight instructor. Later, when he was accepted into the U.S. Air Force, he became a flight instructor for all the African American 99th Pursuit Squadron during World War II. "I am going to work hard to be a general someday," Chappie James thought. When others heard of his goal, they thought it could never happen. But what's the 11th commandment his mother always said? "Thou shalt not quit," right? But Chappie James remembered his mother's 11th commandment, and he was not going to give up. Other people thought, it's not going to happen. There's no way he can make general. I mean, he's great, and this is, but that's a big thing, and especially for an African American at this time, it's just probably not going to happen. Nice try, Chappie, and Chappie's going, "Nope. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not going to let anybody get me down or make me think that I can't do something, because I know what I can do." Tuskegee Airmen. The Tuskegee Pilot Training Program was designed to train African American men as pilots. And I get choked up over that picture. It's a wonderful picture to see. When World War II began, the Tuskegee Airmen made up several units of all Black pilots. These men became an important part of the war and were especially famous for their strength in the face of danger. If they were assigned to protect a bomber plane, the Tuskegee Airmen stayed with it no matter what. These men were excellent pilots and flew many successful missions. 3 Tuskegee Airmen, including Chappie James, went on to become generals. So 3 of these Tuskegee Airmen, the numbers of them, 3 of them went on, and Chappie James was one of them, and ended up becoming a general. What were the Tuskegee Airmen especially famous for? They were famous for their strength in the face of danger. They were always going to be right there with a bomber plane or however they needed to protect and take care of things. They were right there. So it's just a neat thing. Reading that through, thinking that through, go back through it to review. We'll have to wait to find out what else happens. I'm so excited to find out more. I didn't get a chance to teach this last year, so this is my first chance to kind of really get into it. So I'm so excited to find out too what's going to happen. So stay tuned. We'll find out tomorrow what is going to happen with Chappie James as we learn more about his life. All right. I hope you enjoyed that, and we will see you in the next video. Keep making me proud. I love you. Bye.